Yo, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jennifer, and I'm HIV positive. This is my channel about my life living with HIV. Somebody recently just wrote to me and said that they were really disheartened because their CD4 was around 100, and after 4 weeks, it had only gone up to 132. And I was just like, in my mind, thinking, well, don't worry about it, because the lower it goes, the longer it takes for it to climb back up. So anybody who has been through this experience knows that a really low CD4 count, even down, and I know people that were down below 10, it will come back. It just takes longer. And so, but you can still live a really normal life even with a CD4 count under 200, which is considered in the AIDS category, meaning like you're more susceptible to opportunistic infections. But you can still feel really normal. And I know when I was getting better after the pneumonia was clearing up and I was on my HIV medication, my viral load had come, it had come down really fast. So that's why I'm going to show you guys my numbers. But my CD4 hadn't gone up to above 200. It took, I'm looking at my numbers right now, it took a little over a month for me to get over 200, but I have to say that once the pneumonia was cleared up, I felt fine. I really did. I didn't feel like, you can't feel a CD4 count. You just can't feel it. So I didn't feel like it was low or anything. I didn't feel weak. I felt once the pneumonia was cleared up and the viral load was down from the HIV, because I was feeling the effects of the HIV. I felt like a joint pain, and of course I had the fevers and the night sweats, and that was all related to the virus itself. And then, of course, the virus attacked my immune system, and that's what brought on the pneumonia, because my body was compromised, and this is a very common pneumonia for people that have HIV. It's called PCP pneumonia, pneumocystic pneumonia. So anyways, yeah, I had that one. And but once I had the correct medication, if you know my story, it took a little bit to get that going because I didn't have the right stuff right away, and I had a pretty bad go of it for quite a few days. And but yeah, I got back up on my feet, and but the CD4 took a while, and I just did a video a little while ago about CD4 counts. You guys can watch it right here, or it's right here. I don't know. I never know when I'm pointing when I put the video up, which side it's going to go up on. So anyways, I don't know, one of these sides. So that CD4 count video was basically talking about the fact that once you're I think it was above 480, somewhere around there. My doctor thought it was 500, but it turned out it could be just a little bit lower. But once you're in that range, you're basically in the running for a normal long life. And your life longevity is just the same as anybody else. And so I thought that was really an important thing to put out there and let people know that once your CD4 is at a certain range, you're living that life just like anybody else who doesn't have HIV. So that's, good to know. And, I always think in the back, well, not in the back of my head, but, life is fleeting. We all know this. And, everything could end tomorrow. Who knows? I always think, I could be hit by a truck. So I'm thankful for the time that I've had already. And, yeah, let's hope for, 85 years old, but, nobody knows. You never know what path your life is going to take, and if you'll even have that opportunity. But I am not supposed to live a short life based on my CD4 count or the medication that I take. So okay, so here is I'm on this website for my doctor's office where they have everything kind of graphed out, but I didn't think it was as clear as me maybe just writing it down. So I'm going to flip the cam here, see if I can do this. All right, so here is all the dates associated with my CD4 and viral load. You'll see at the top, that's my diagnosis date, or really it's the day after I was diagnosed on the 15th, but the next day a viral load was ordered, but that doctor didn't order a CD4 because he wasn't an HIV doctor, he was an infectious disease doctor, and apparently didn't know he should have done that. It wasn't until I had some friends researching things on the internet, friend in San Francisco, knew some people in the LGBTQ community who knew about HIV, and they said, viral load and CD4 should be ordered. This is just people like trying to get information from me. So it was like weird. I had like people that really, you know, I mean, shit, I didn't know what a CD4 was, you know, viral load. What is this? This is all scary, you know, and I had, yeah, people like kind of like researching it and telling me a viral load should have been ordered, or I'm sorry, a CD4 should have been ordered. Clearly it was not. So I just got my viral load. And then, once my HIV doctor, Dr. Leonard, met me and everything, she right away said, let's draw blood and do it again and see what's happened since you started your medication. Because that doctor put me on a triplet immediately, which was, I've done a video on this about why that shouldn't have happened. He didn't test my genotype for resistance and sensitivity to medication, which was really not a good thing to do, because what that could have done is he could have put me on medication that I was resistant to, and it could have messed me up for other medications that it could have been sensitive to. So he put me on a triplet, which was an older medication. It was nothing she would have prescribed. There's way newer medications available where I live, and that have, you know, less side effects. And but it does work. It just had side effects. So that made me honestly feel way sicker than I already was. So that wasn't fun. But anyways, I did take it for about 5 days, I think. Damn, every time I had to plop that pill down my throat, I was just, you know, basically like felt like I was like, buckle up, put a seatbelt on, put a helmet on, sit back and wait for the freaking awful reaction to it. Because I was already super sick, and it just made me feel so bad. But it did work. And so within, you can see right there, from the 16th to the 22nd, so that's just 6 days, it dropped from 507,000 down to 22,242, and I was just like, what? I thought that it was going to take years to get that number to come down, that 500,000. I had no idea that it would come down that fast. And then I got my first CD4 during that lab workup, and that was an 84. That was my first CD4. First time I got to see what it was, and it was the first time I found out that I had an AIDS diagnosis, that it was under 200, and that's what that meant. And it was a pretty big shock to know that I was now, not only did I have HIV, but I also had AIDS. And yeah, it was unreal, surreal. Couldn't believe I now had AIDS. What had my life turned into? It was really, really scary. So we fast forward here, let's see, to March 7th. So we're looking at about, what is that? Maybe 2.5 weeks later. I feel like it was about 3 weeks later. She just did an update on the CD4, and it only checked CD4. So it went up, you know, quite a bit in those 2.5 weeks. It went up from 84 to 136. That was really great. And then by March 25th, so about a month after that 22,000, you know, about a month later, look how much it dropped. Insanity. So from February 16th to March 25th, and also part of this time in here, I was not taking an HIV medication because she wanted to hold off on that. I was just taking the medication to clear up the pneumonia, and so the HIV medication was going to be put on hold, and we held off for about 2.5 weeks, but then the HIV started to ramp up. I could feel it. My joints started hurting again. I had like pain in my forearms. I remember that. And, anyways, she said, oh, okay, we can get it going now. And so that's when I started, I tried Stribuild for a few days, but I really just felt super sick on it. And then we went to, Triumec, which is what I've been on ever since. And that worked out great. So, so here is, let's see, 2 months later, and I went from 1214 down to 34 in 2 months. So, and you know, like again, I started here with a little bit of medication, and then probably right in here, it was not happening. I want to say, yeah, I probably stopped around the 22nd. I probably didn't take any HIV medication during that time. It was just pneumonia medication, just antibiotics. And then I got back on the HIV medication probably around here. And so from like here to here, that's like over 2 months, but huge drop. You know, I'm basically undetectable. 34 is definitely undetectable in, you know, many well, in any parts of the world, and for U equals U, it's anything under 200. So I was definitely, for my doctor, she'd prefer it to be under 20 to say it's undetectable. And that's all based on, the tests, the labs that we're able to send our blood to. Some countries don't have the machines that are the lab capabilities that are as sensitive as others. And the one that we go to or we use has a really sensitive testing procedure. So she goes with under 20 for undetectable. So it was like so funny because I go in here in August, and I'd been diagnosed back in February. We're talking 4 months later. And she was like, I remember her being like so disappointed that it was 21. She wanted it to be 20. And she goes, it's basically undetectable, but you're still, it's not there. But she goes, it will be, and it was funny. It's like, we're just having, it's really in the grand scheme of things, this is nothing. That one means like nothing. I'm not, going to transmit it. It's really not affecting me. It's basically it is undetectable. So, and like I said, a lot of countries use 550 and below as their undetectable, and some countries even use 200 and below as their undetectable. So I was undetectable. And then here's my CD4. So it's slowly climbing up 378. And I was really thinking it was going to go faster. And she said not to worry about it, that it was, because it had gotten so low, that it's going to take longer. So the lower it goes, the longer it takes for it to go back up, basically. So then here, finally in December, and I made a video during that time that I was finally undetectable. I said like my Christmas, gift had come early because it was my first real undetectable. And basically what happens is as the number gets smaller, it takes longer for the medication to hit those last few particles because they're harder to find. When it's like this, there's HIV all over in your body and the medication's just wiping it out left and right because it's so easy to find. It's like an Easter egg hunt. You find all the eggs in the beginning because there's so many out on the grass, and then towards the end there's hardly any, and it takes longer to try to find one, right? So it's basically the same idea. It just takes longer because there's less to find. So I don't know that there's a whole lot more to go through here, but I'm consistently undetectable. Had a little blip there. So you can see I went to Mexico. That's when I had the Montezuma's Revenge. So basically I was taking my pill, but I was having diarrhea for an entire week. So it was just going through my system. It really wasn't being absorbed properly, and the drug pressure from the virus wasn't there. And so the virus was able to wake back up a little bit and replicate a little bit, but nothing, it wasn't affecting me in any way, and it wouldn't be, it's not transmittable in any way. So there you go. That's a blip, but these aren't, anything to cause concern as far as transmission, anything like that. And let's see. So then I was back to undetectable, of course, because I got over the Montezuma's Revenge. And then it hit 22 there. Again, it's just being incredibly picky. And I put them in red just to like let it stand out that it was over 20, but really, I mean, it's undetectable. But yeah, she says, who knows? That was her reasoning for that. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I really do take my pill at the same time every day, and I don't miss it. So, we really don't know why it went up a blip. She said it could have been, it's not even a blip, but it just went up, from 20 to 22. So again, still basically undetectable. Okay. So then we didn't do my CD4. So this is about, wow, that's actually 2 years later. I'm kind of jumping around, missing the CD4 here. So this is about a year after my diagnosis, and I'm at 407. So I went from 84 to 407 after a year. And then this is about 2 years later, I'm at 452. So not a huge jump, from 1 year later, 407 to 452. Continuing to stay undetectable. And then, I had a drop here, but you know what? I had been sick, and like a cold. And it affects your CD4 count. Anytime you're sick, it affects your CD4 count. So it had gone down based on that, and then it came back up. So you guys that don't have HIV, you're not aware of your CD4 counts, but when you get sick, your CD4 is being affected because it's your T cells. They're helping. It's your immune system. It's working harder, and they do get knocked down, and they do go down when you get sick. And so you would experience the same, although you wouldn't have such a low drop. But again, these drops aren't anything that's causing I'm not in an AIDS category here. I'm not at risk for opportunistic infections or anything like that. But it did go down a little bit. And then look, it jumped back up pretty quick. Like a month later, she wanted to check it again because she was like, what the hell? You know, she's funny. Like she's mildly concerned, but really not, because she knows I'm healthy. And so then here we are, September 2018, 255, again, drop again. But those were just based on, we think, just me maybe having a cold. And I don't even really remember being sick, but yeah, actually I do. That's right. I was traveling a lot. And I remember in Amsterdam, I don't think I was feeling great. I think it was just being in hotels with air conditioning and stuff like that. I do remember losing my voice now. And that was definitely around that time. USCA, I'd gone to Washington, D.C. There was a lot of traveling going on. Anyways, but look at that. It jumped back up so quickly. Oops. Jumped back up so quickly here to 506. And then getting closer here to the current time, there's February. That's 3 years later. I had a little increase. Again, no explanation, but we still consider it low. Again, I take my pill every day, but that's a blip. You know, blips happen sometimes. And, you know, when you go and get your blood tested and you're in care and you're seeing your doctor on a regular basis, a blip will not result in a transmission because we go so often that they're caught. And so the odds of like this going up, this blip, to a transmittable number wouldn't happen because I see my doctor. It wouldn't even have time to do that. So, and with all the studies and the, you know, I think it's at something like over 100,000, 148,000 sexual encounters between an HIV positive undetectable person and their HIV negative sexual partner. There was no transmissions of HIV, and you know, obviously there were blips in those studies, and not one transmission resulted in a blip. So it's really important for people to understand that. If you want more information on that, go to www.preventionaccess.org/facts, and I believe it's number 8. Will explain more on blips, because people are so certain that we're not covering that, and as people who are trying to educate people on what U equals U is, undetectable equals untransmittable, and they say, oh, but a blip and you can transmit, you don't know what's happening to your blood in between. But you know what? We do. We really do. And when you're in care and you're seeing your doctor on a regular basis, we know exactly what's happening with our blood, and we're not contagious, I should say. I don't know what the right word is. That doesn't sound right, but we can't transmit basically when we're in care and the doctor's following our blood and all that. So it's very safe. Okay, so let's see, where are we? I'm going to wrap this up. This is February of this year, and oops, lost my screen there. This is February of this year. Again, I'm undetectable. We only checked viral load, and then we got to June, and that's when I got the great news that I'd hit this 509. And I'll put the video in the up in the corner here. You can check it out if you want, about CD4s and life expectancy. And now that I hit that 509, it's going to be a long life. So anyways, this is the history of my viral loads and CD4 counts. I hope that's helpful for people. Everybody's different, but I do typically see the same thing with everybody, really, is that viral loads shoot down really quickly with medication, and then the last few bits take longer. And that CD4s, again, when they start really low, it does take longer for them to get back up. But I do expect that I'll eventually get to maybe close to 1,000. I don't care at this point. I'm really fine with the 509 and the 500 range. I feel absolutely fine and healthy, and I don't worry about it. But you know, it's fun to see it go up, but I really don't lose sleep over it. I'm really happy with where it is. So okay, sorry you guys like stared at the screen the entire time, but it was really way easier for me just to point at the computer and show you guys what I was talking about, instead of turning it around and looking at me the whole time. So again, thanks for watching this video, and thanks for subscribing. Make sure you hit notifications so you know when I put out a video, because I am really inconsistent. Sorry, I just am. I've tried to be consistent with YouTube, but it's just you know, I don't know. I'm not good about it. So I do videos when I feel inspired by something that's happening in my social media that makes me realize that I really need to make a video about it. And that's typically when I do it. So yeah, comment, like, subscribe, and I hope this is helpful for people out there so they can see the journey that I've had with my viral load and CD4 count. I keep looking at the wrong thing. Okay, have a good one, you guys. Follow me on Instagram, BondGirl24, and I'll put a link in the description. And if you feel motivated or inspired by my work, please donate. There's a link in the description. Every little bit helps, and I don't get paid for this. I just do this on my own. So I appreciate any help that comes from any of you out there who feel inspired. I don't have a Patreon. YouTube helps a little bit, but really this is just Mother Teresa stuff here. So I hope you guys like it. Okay, see ya. Bye.